You notice it the moment the door closes behind you. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing changes. The noise inside your head finally quiets. No one needs anything from you now, and your body reacts before your mind can explain why. You don't always call it relief. Sometimes you call it tiredness, or overstimulation, or just needing space. But there is a specific calm that only appears when you're alone, and you've learned not to question it too closely. Because questioning it leads somewhere uncomfortable. It leads to the realization that being around people, even people you care about, doesn't relax you. It puts you on alert. You might still laugh. You might still listen carefully. You might still be kind, responsive, present. But inside, something is bracing, watching, adjusting. As if calm is only allowed when no one is looking. You've felt this in small moments. When a message arrives and your chest tightens before you even read it. When someone asks, "Are you okay?" and you instinctively say yes, even though you weren't sure a second ago. When plans get cancelled and you feel a wave of relief you don't quite want to admit. Because relief shouldn't come from being unneeded. And yet it does. At first, this pattern feels like a personality trait. You tell yourself you're introverted, independent, low maintenance. You say you recharge alone, as if that explains the deeper truth. But the calm you feel in solitude isn't just about quiet. It's about permission. Permission to stop monitoring yourself. Permission to stop anticipating. Permission to stop being useful, available, readable. When you're alone, nothing is required of you, and your nervous system finally believes that. You may not have noticed how constant the background tension is when others are around. Not loud anxiety. Not panic. Just a low hum of readiness. A subtle scanning. Am I being too much? Am I being distant? Do they need something? Did I miss something? This isn't a thought process you choose. It's a state your body enters automatically. And the longer it's been there, the more invisible it becomes. You can be sitting with someone you trust and still feel it. That quiet pressure to stay regulated, stable, agreeable. To not create extra emotional gravity. So when you're finally alone, your system doesn't celebrate solitude. It exhales. That exhale tells a story. Not about disliking people, but about how closeness became work. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being around others meant being needed in ways you couldn't refuse. That presence came with expectations, spoken or not. That love was often paired with responsibility. So your body adapted. It learned to stay alert, to anticipate emotional shifts, to be ready to respond before anything was asked. This is hyper-responsibility, but it doesn't feel dramatic from the inside. It feels like maturity, like reliability, like being the calm one. You might even be proud of it. You're the person others lean on, the one who doesn't fall apart, the one who handles things quietly. But what no one sees is the cost of always being internally available. Because when your nervous system is trained to stay on standby around people, calm becomes conditional. It depends on being alone. This is the point where a question starts to form, not all at once, but slowly over time. It shows up as confusion, as guilt, as self-judgment. Why does being with others make me tense? Why does solitude feel safer than connection? Why does calm only arrive when no one expects anything from me? The answer isn't that you're broken. And it isn't that you're cold. It's that your system learned to associate closeness with vigilance. At some point, being needed became the price of belonging. So you learned to belong by staying ready. You didn't decide this consciously. You absorbed it. Maybe you were the child who noticed moods before words. The one who adjusted their behavior to keep things smooth. The one who learned early that asking for too much created problems. Or maybe you were simply praised for being self-sufficient, for not needing help, for not causing trouble. Either way, your nervous system drew a conclusion. Safety lives in self-containment. So now, even as an adult, your body reacts to proximity as if something might be demanded, even when nothing is. You don't wait to be asked. You preempt. You regulate yourself tightly. You minimize needs. You keep your inner world quiet. And the more you do this, the more solitude becomes the only place where nothing is required of you. Notice how this shows up in ordinary ways. How you delay responding to messages not because you don't care, but because responding means re-entering readiness. How you prefer parallel presence, sitting near someone without emotional engagement. How silence feels restorative, not empty. Notice how your body feels when someone is upset around you. How quickly you tense. How instinctively you prepare to fix, stabilize, absorb. And notice the relief when you don't have to. This pattern once protected you. It helped you stay connected without risking overwhelm. It helped you survive environments where emotional space was limited. But protection doesn't always know when to stand down. So it keeps running the same program. Calm equals aloneness. Togetherness equals alertness. Over time, this can start to shape how you see yourself. You may tell yourself you're not good at closeness, that relationships drain you, that you're better off independent. But underneath those conclusions is something quieter and more precise. You don't fear people. You fear the state you enter around them, the version of yourself that never fully rests. And so solitude becomes more than preference. It becomes regulation. When you're alone, your body doesn't have to track anyone else's needs. Your emotions don't have to be filtered or delayed. Your attention doesn't have to be split. You don't have to be useful to be allowed to exist. That's the calm you feel. Not loneliness, but absence of demand. This realization doesn't arrive as a breakthrough. It lands softly, and it stays. It reframes the story from something being wrong with you to something that once worked too well. You can start to notice the pattern without trying to change it. How quickly you feel better when plans cancel. How tension creeps back in when someone expects access to you. How your body responds before your mind has an opinion. And maybe, slowly, the self-blame loosens. Because needing solitude isn't a failure of connection. It's a language your nervous system learned to speak. A language shaped by adaptation, not defect. The calm you feel alone isn't proof that you're meant to be separate from others. It's proof that your system has been carrying more responsibility than anyone realized, including you. You don't need to judge that, or fix it, or explain it away. Just notice it. Notice when calm appears. Notice what disappears when it does. And as you sit with that awareness, something shifts, not outwardly, but inwardly. The story changes from, "I can only relax alone," to, "This is how my system learned to rest." That understanding doesn't solve anything immediately. It doesn't make closeness easier overnight. But it adds weight to your experience, and meaning to your quiet needs. Your need for solitude isn't weakness. It isn't avoidance. It isn't coldness. It's a request. A request made in the only language your nervous system learned. For a space where nothing is expected. And calm is finally allowed to arrive.